Well, this is sort of a different setup to what I'm used to. Usually I'm sitting at my desk and I've got somebody on the phone. I've only had one face-to-face interview so far, and this will be number 2. This is definitely a special one for me with Lorie from, obviously being born in PEI, both of us, and being and this being recorded in PEI in front of a live audience. So I have a list of questions here for you, Lorie, and I really just want to make this a discussion.
Okay.
You've had some incredible success, and I want to kind of get into that. And, I'd like to start by going back to your pre-win days.
Oh, God.
I know. But,
When was that?
It's those breakthroughs that I want to kind of try and see if we can figure out. I mean, you've had a number of second-place finishes when you were trying to break through, and I'm sure that was a really challenging time and also a rewarding time for you. Can you take us back to that time in the pre-win Lorie Kane? I mean, what were you thinking then? And, did you know you were a winner before it actually came to be? Did you imagine it, or what was that like?
I'm getting goosebumps because it is very vivid. So just you all know my history, but you might not know this part. I turned pro at a time that was kind of a stressful situation, and as a result of that, gained a tremendous amount of strength, not really knowing that I had this inner strength. And so when I got out on tour, finally, 1996, I got what we would consider back then conditional status. So I was a member of the tour, but wasn't able to play full time. I would play when my number basically was called. So in 1997 was my full year on tour, and everything was new and exciting, and I was scared to death every time I went to the course to play a tournament that I was able to play in. At that time, I'd met Danny Sharp, who was caddying for me, and his experience I followed. Just like you had talked about, you should practice play, always have dinner with good putters. But fast forward really quickly to a time when I thought the world was coming to an end. I was on tour now for 97, 98, 99. I kept finishing second. A lot of those seconds were back doors, where I was probably in the middle of the, let's say, top 20, top 30 on a Sunday, and I'd come out like hotcakes and shoot a low number and backdoor a top 10, or backdoor a second place finish, or, in some cases ended up losing in playoffs. And at one point, I thought, I had been told, and never read your own press is the best advice I can give all these young kids in the back. Do not read your own press. It doesn't, what other people think of you doesn't matter, because it's only their opinion. You have to have the strength inside to have the strongest opinion of yourself, as Brett was talking about earlier. But I made the mistake of reading my press, and I was told I was too nice. She's never going to win. She's too nice. She's from some little island in the middle of nowhere, and they definitely don't play enough golf there, so she's not going to win. Both Brett and I worked with a gentleman by the name of Dave McNeil, or better known to most of us as Hermie, and Herm came down to Florida to straighten me out because I thought the world was coming to an end, that I was finishing second. He said, "You have a plan, keep following the plan." Brett, to answer your question, I came to Brudenell, and you're going to have to help me with the date. Des Moines Series event, 2000. I'm home for the week, and I'm standing watching Anne and all the other Canadian girls that I had played the Des Moines Series with, and thinking, wow, I have come a long way. I'm on tour. I am playing with the best players in the world, and I'm successful with this. The next week, I got on a plane and flew to St. Louis and won my first tournament. walk by me in St. Louis and say, "This is your week." And I stopped her and said, "You know what? I didn't know this woman." I said, "It is my week, and I'm the only one that can do something about it."
That is a great story. I was going to ask this question, was it, were you freewheeling it, or was it kind of a must-have? And it sounds like, I was kind of giving the example, or what I wrote down here was, was it kind of get out of my way and that kind of fist on the table, this is mine kind of attitude? And it kind of sounds like it was a little bit.
It was.
Yeah.
Situations unfold, and what I heard from your discussion earlier was you put yourself in a situation, you visualize it, you dream it, you live it, and then it doesn't really always work out the way that you've visualized and dreamt it. That week we had a rain delay, and rain delays can be long and tiring, and I had the lead on going into Sunday's round, and I didn't know what to do with myself, and the big clouds are coming over, and I'm thinking, are we going to get a chance to play? What happened? Will they call it an event? Will they cancel it, or will we have to come back tomorrow? I was beside myself, and I happened to be paired with Rosie Jones, who is a pit bull when it comes to competition. And Danny's advice to me was, go over there and talk to her. We're warming up. Rosie had wanted nothing to do with me talking to her, but I was talking to her. And she was running around the green like, get away from me. And I was just doing what Danny had told me, because he said, today, in order for us to be successful, you have to be yourself. And myself was friendly, chatty, thanking people, talking to people. If I stopped doing that, then I would come into the shell, and I know now, because I have been at the top of the mountain. Well, I was at the bottom of the mountain. I climbed to the top. I fell down past where I had started, and I climbed back up. And I know now where it is that I play my best, and my best is just being me. And that day, when we finally did get out onto the golf course, the second hole, Rosie misses a putt on the first hole that's this long, and she doesn't miss those. And I just thought, this is my time, and I have to take control of this situation. And on the next hole, I hit it over here, then I hit it there, and then I hit it up there, and I got to the green, and I was like, and I was breathing and doing all the things that, we're told to do, and we're supposed to practice. And Danny said, how do you like your job now? I said, I think I'm going to be sick. But in the end, hoisted the trophy.
So, you mentioned the Du Maurier series there, and that one sort of event where you came back to Brudenell. Was that kind of a critical piece where you realized that you were good enough?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because I don't think I realized how it just kind of all happened. I was playing on our national team. I was kept off a national team. I challenged that. Now I'm on tour, and what is all this about? I had tremendous, and still have tremendous support from this community that made it available for me to go play. And I was wanting to produce for them as much as for me. But I didn't know how successful I actually was. I didn't, in those dreams and in those visualizations, I saw myself holding the trophy, but I didn't really attach myself to that feeling of what that meant. And then, of course, when you attach yourself to those feelings, there's that expectation of, well, what's next? And, it can be a heavy burden.
Yeah, for sure. This is kind of a fun one, but what's it like to beat Annika? Did you ever talk to her about the mental side of the game? And I know in one of the wins you did.
I can tell you that I was in her inner circle until she decided to play Colonial, and until she started hanging out with Tiger. And I think Tiger's persona, or whatever you want, Tiger always was with older players. So guys that he knew probably weren't going to beat him. Tiger never hung with young players. And now I see him, we see him. I don't know Tiger. I mean, I've been this close to him, but I don't know Tiger. So I'm really only speaking from what my own perception is that, he's ready to give a little bit back, but he's not ready not to be winning. In Annika's case, Annika is a very quiet individual, and I will tell you right now, I'm not in her inner circle. I live in her neighborhood and I never see her. But we don't compete anymore. After her time with Tiger and her moving us forward, I think, in women's golf by putting her neck on the line and playing Colonial, she didn't want to be friends with me because I'm the competition. So I respect her. I think that she had respect for me as an athlete. So what was funny and pops up right now in my mind is what happened last weekend. Kari Webb is somebody that has an unbelievable mental toughness, as Annika does. And I thought I need to get back to playing practice rounds with Webby and with that type of player, because I tend to play a lot of practice rounds by myself now. It takes way too long to play a practice round. I like to go really early in the morning or late in the afternoon and get my work done and get out of there. But I had thought to myself, I'm going to get a practice round with Webby. And I just said it out loud to Danny. And thought, I have to give Webby a call. Well, when you put something out there, it comes back. Because I got to the golf course, walked to the first tee, and who's standing there and says, you want to play? Webby. Yeah. So we played together. And what I learned this week was I needed to see a gauge of where my game was at, my physical game.
Yep.
And it is where I knew it was. But to your point and what you spoke with, is that my confidence isn't where my physical game is. My physical game is better than where my confidence game is. And we're working hard on getting the confidence to where the physical is.
Good. Before I go on to the next question, is there anything specific in your time with Annika, that you would have picked up or that you saw or thought was valuable from her?
Yeah, that she definitely has, or had when she was playing at her peak, she was a tactician. She had a list of things and she did it from A to B and she never varied. She wasn't afraid though to quiz you if you had. She must like the way I putted, because she would talk to me constantly about putting, and she would talk to Danny about what he thought she could work on with her putting. It's a really funny story, and I haven't gotten the answer to this, but I lost Annika in a playoff in Hawaii, defending a title from the year before. I had won, so I beat her the year before, and we went into a playoff. And the week after, 2 weeks later, we did a summit, and she ended up come up to my room. She said, "Can I use your room? I need to grab a shower." Yada yada. I said, "Sure." So as we're in the midst of her doing that and us getting ready to go to this meeting, she said, "Why did you let me win last week?" And I'm sure I stood like, "What?" I said, "The way I saw it, you had to work your butt off to even get in the playoff, because I bogeyed 16, you parred 16, I birdied 17, you birdied 18, we got in the playoff. I lipped out to win out, right? And you made a great putt to win the playoff. How was that letting me, or whatever? You didn't beat me.
Yeah.
Or you beat me, but I didn't let you beat me." So her mindset, I think, or I know, was tough. She was not going to. There's one thing about the top players in the world, is they will not let themselves beat themselves.
Yeah. And
they don't blame themselves. They're going to blame whatever.
Yeah.
And not them.
Yeah, that's true. You talked about recommending to the younger group here not to read their own press. Mm-hmm. What do you have to say about the naysayers? And if you look at that as an obstacle, I know success always brings challenges. Yeah. And there's always difficult situations that you have to overcome. And what recommendations would you have for overcoming those challenges and objections and naysayers?
There's a few words that I shouldn't use.
Hold them back.
Yeah, no. Oh dear, how do I answer Well, I'll give you two examples. Mine and Mike Weir's. Probably in the last, I've been on tour 17 years or 18 years. Mike's been about the same. And as I see it, we've been probably two of the more successful Canadian golfers to date. Not to take anything away from anybody else at whatever level, but it's just in front of me. That's what I see. Both of us know the highs and the lows, and right now we're both, as he said to me this morning in a text, we're treading in the right direction. And sheer determination and self-belief. I don't think there's anybody I've learned that more from than Mike. His self-belief is unbelievable. And that's something that I know I continue to work on every day. And you talked about having that voice. Well, her name is Judith, and she is, excuse my language, a bitch. And she doesn't play very good golf. And I have to beat her down with my 9-iron if I have to. Because if you listen to that, it's so easy when things aren't going well to go over there to the negative rather than take the high road to the positive. We played 36 holes on Sunday. I played 54 holes in 30 hours. I was whooped. And when I woke up when that alarm went at 4 a.m., I was like, yep, I'm ready to take on the day. Went to the golf course, and Savory Pack's the first person I see. I said, hey, Pack woman. And everyone else like, Christy Kerr. I said, hey, Kerr. I'm going to beat her because she's not happy.
Yeah. It's so true. It's so true. You mentioned Mike Weir and his self-belief, and we kind of chatted about that not too long ago. And it's something that's not that tangible. But how can you describe it even to talk about how Mike has a high self-belief and how that contributes to his ability?
Well, I think it's he and I. If someone says you can't, what's the first thing you're going to do? I can. I'm going to show you how I can. And I think Mike, for so long, was told that he was just going to be a good mini tour player, a good player on the then Canadian Tour, now the PGA Tour, Canada. But he had the belief that he was going to be. It was going to take him a little while to get there, as it did me. But just believing and having people behind you that believe you and believe in you is I think the biggest challenge. And then it's to keep telling yourself, even you are going to always have somebody that's going to say you can't, because they don't have the courage to be better than they are. It's a weird world we live in. We are afraid sometimes to elevate one another because that might mean that you're going to get ahead of me. Well, in this great game of golf, it's me, my golf ball, and you can't run me over, you can't, hit me, you can't check, you can't do any of that. So, I think the belief comes from, hard work, determination, and the courage to overcome the fear.
Yeah. Okay. You've mentioned tonight, and most people know that you've worked with Hermie, Dave McNeil, on the mental side of the game.
Yep.
And you've worked with him for years. So, what kind of stuff do you guys, or more specifically, what's worked for you with him? Like, what sort of things has he really helped you with that have made a noticeable difference? I mean, there's so much that we could talk about on the mental side of this game. And, was there any short list of stuff that you can remember that really made a difference for you?
Well, I think it's life. I've also been on Dr. Bob Rotella's couch, and I would read all of his books and start with Golf is Not a Game of Perfect. That's for all of you younger golfers and I'm looking at you, and I'm very happy that you're. What's your name? Bailey. I'm thinking, where are the other girls? We have some really good golfers here. Anyways, they're missing out. So if I look like I'm talking directly to you, it's because I'm encouraging you to achieve good things. In a nutshell, people have asked me, well, what does Hermie do for you? Well, Hermie does just about everything for me, from helping me on my business plan side to managing that to, in a nutshell, the man could motivate me to jump off the bridge and survive the fall. And that's, I don't know how else to put it.
You can't replace that.
No, you can't.
That's for sure. Another guy, obviously, that's had a huge influence, and I'm starting to realize that in what you said earlier is Danny Sharp. He's been your caddy for years, and you've given a couple of examples already where he has kind of pushed you in the right direction, and how meaningful is having someone that strong on your bag?
Oh, it's huge. Right now, Danny and I aren't working together full time. Danny's working for a young player by the name of Thomas Aiken, a South African kid who plays the European Tour, and Danny caddied for him last year at the Canadian Open, and I told him, I said, you have an opportunity here, because Danny's skill level as a coach, understanding the game, I said, you need to help Thomas, and it's a great opportunity, because you're going to learn more, and then you're going to bring it back to me, and I'm going to be that much stronger. But what it's also done is it's made me stand up and take responsibility for myself, and having to then go find someone else to caddy, and I've gone through some different people, and all of them are great caddies, and I always come back to the fact that I know Danny knows my swing, I know Danny's got my back, and we have a game plan each and every day when we go out to play. Now, having said that, the guy who's been caddying for me the last 2 weeks, John Colleen, has been on tour 30 years and probably has 35 or 40 wins under his belt, so he also knows his way around. But as I said to Anne earlier, I know Danny can hit a shot. And so when I talk to my caddy, I have to make sure that I'm not looking to that person, if it isn't Danny, to say, well, how would you hit this shot? Because most of the guys don't play, or they've played a little bit, but they're not at the level we're at. So I can't expect them to know how I would hit this shot. I'm hoping you're going to send me in another direction here, because I have a few more things I'd like to tell them.
Well, you go ahead. You just go ahead. I don't need to get a question out for you to say.
Okay, so one of the things you talked about, and this is fast play week month or whatever it is, or slow play month, or get rid of slow play, or whatever the heck it's called. We have a real problem on our tour with that, by the way. And I heard you talk about pre-shot routine and making that part of, there's two sides to it, which I totally agree. And then having the courage to either try that shot you're not comfortable with, but I'll tell you, if you've never practiced it, tournament play is not the place to be trying it. Too stressful. Way too stressful. Let's make it easy. Hit the fairway, hit the green, and putt, and get out of there. But Danny always tells me we need a go-to shot. You need to have a shot that you can rely on under the gun. Under the gun means in high pressure situation. And my go-to shot is a 3/4 shot, so a knockdown. I've been to enough PGA events to watch guys warm up, and Tiger probably never takes a full swing at anything in the warm up. It's a warm up. He's not working on a swing. It's just a warm up. And I've done that. Now I go out to the range, and because Danny is not behind me, I'm not looking to say, and it'd be the same if Anne was with me. I'd be like, hey, Anne, how's that looking? Well, I can't look to John Colleen and say, what do you see, John? Because he doesn't know what my swing. He knows a good swing, because he'll say great swing if the ball flight is, he's learning from the ball, not from what it looks like. So I'm detaching myself from the results. And that's a big thing I think Herm and I are working on these days, is that I'm climbing the ladder, and it's a double-ended sword, because results are effect, the story you told about the kid that didn't know when he shot. My niece Charlotte's caddied for me at the U.S. Open qualifier 2 weeks ago, and I had no idea what I shot the second round. In fact, I said, Charlotte, you're going to have to come in and help me with the card because I don't know what I shot. She said, what do you mean you don't know what you shot? I said, I have no idea what I shot. I said, I do know that I fell asleep on the second round on the 11th, 12th, and 13th hole. I 3-putted twice and missed a short one, and then gave myself a nice whack with the wedge and got to the next hole and said, now I've got to clean this mess up. But I didn't know, I knew what the mess was, but I didn't know what happened before. And when we added it up, it was 68.
Nice.
Perfect.
Yeah. No, I mean, there's a big message in that,
yes.
you know, staying in the present. It has a huge difference on when you understand what you need to have to be able to play the shot. You don't need to know your score to play a great shot.
No, you don't.
Let's get into the lighter side a little bit. You know, not into your goals specifically, but how do you manage goal setting, and do you set a lot of goals, a few goals? What do you do with goals? How do you suggest people do?
That's something I've struggled with because I don't know. I guess it was if you write it down, then you have to own it. Well, I always had fear of writing it down, and Herm and I, we went through a little bit of a period where I was writing things down, goal-wise. I have more goals just for today.
Yeah. And
today I want to get up. I want to have a positive start to the day. I want to have a good workout. I want to be mentally into what I'm doing and happy. That's the biggest, I think my biggest goal every day is to have a smile on my face. Because there's a hell of a lot of people around this world that don't have smiles. And to think that I'm the fortunate one that gets to hit a white golf ball around. And some days are going to be great, and some days are going to be mediocre, and some days are going to be really crappy. But when I add up all the sum of everything, I'm pretty lucky.
Yeah.
So goal setting for me, I have one goal right now, and that's to win again. And I'm going to do that.
Good. Awesome. You had mentioned about having a shot to play down the stretch or in a pressure situation, your knockdown shot. What kind of on-course strategies do you use, like as far as game plan, and do you think about that a lot before you fight?
I really like what you had mentioned about, and for a long time I used to go to bed at night, and if I was feeling anxious about the next day, I was playing golf. Like if I slept for 8 hours, I was playing golf for 8 hours in my head, and it wasn't a very restful sleep because it never seemed to be very good golf, and that only made me more nervous, and not in a positive way for the round I was going to play. So we came up with a plan, and that would be once I travel, I'm in a hotel room, I don't want to tell you how many nights, too many, but if I'm going to go to bed, I decide that when I hit the bed that no golf is talked, no golf is thought, and if I do start thinking, I get up, move to somewhere else, and go through the course. Because obviously there's somewhere on the golf course that is bothering me, and I need to work through that, and I need to see the positive things. Last week the fairways were this wide, and the rough was this long, and twice I couldn't see the ball, let alone try to hit it. So that was causing some issues. So I go through it. I make the game plan. A little thing that I've come up with over the last couple of years. You remember when Louis Oosthuizen won the British, and the red dot on his glove? Remember that? The red dot was his trigger to kind of get him set into his mental pre-shot routine, not the physical part. So you'll see me, and I'm asked all the time now, and people think it's the pin sheet that I'm pulling out of my back pocket to check before I've walked into the shot. And it's my trigger. And it's just a word, and the word right now for me is courage. And last month it could have been, well, for a long time it was present because I just needed to be in each shot. But I need the courage to be in each shot. So that's my pre-shot routine.
So does that trigger you to kind of say different things to yourself when you see that, or?
Yeah. Well, I'm. If you're whoever's caddying, you know, we know where I want the ball to finish, and I take one practice swing. I know where my target is. It comes out, and then I step into the box, and it's gone.
Gotcha. On that topic, talking about pre-shot routine. I mean, what works for Lorie Kane as far as pre-shot routine?
This helps. I think what I'm seeing, and one of the reasons golf has become so slow is because we're, you know, one, as a professional, I'm lucky I've got someone to talk to. As a young kid, you know, we don't have caddies when we're juniors, and so there's a lot of things that kids have to take in, and I think good pre-shot routine is pre-shot routine is having your plan, knowing what you're capable of doing, getting your yardages, and then being decisive and picking a shot, and just get up and hit it. And once you pull that club out, all of the, you know, calculating and what we're going to do, that's already decided. As soon as that club comes out of the bag, it's a 7-iron. But you may say to yourself, pulling it out, it's a 3/4 7-iron. And get in and hit it. But if you change your mind, then I want to tell you to start again. However, with the pace of play being the way it is, you really have to commit. So as soon as you pull that out, be committed to that shot. And I don't care if you fly the green. Like, I would be more proud of you that you flew the green because you were committed to what you were doing than being wishy-washy and missing the shot.
That's good advice.
Thank you.
You know, I didn't talk about self-talk tonight. I've talked a little bit about free will, and you've kind of mentioned a couple of things just with courage and different things that, you know, you say to yourself. Without getting necessarily into the stuff that you say to yourself, you know, how important is self-talk to your success and to, you know, to other people, and what do you recommend for that?
I think positive self-talk is important to just living a good life. And we are talking about a game as far as golf is concerned, but getting up every day and feeling good about yourself and telling yourself you're a good person is the first step to becoming that good person and treating people the way you would like to be treated. And I continue to tell myself every day, and some days it's a little more of a struggle. And again, because of what I do, you know, the things I deal with, I know every Monday morning someone opens the Guardian and reads the paper and sees what I shot. And there is, unfortunately for me, for a while, there was a correlation between that score and who I am. And that's so far from, you know, who I am. I'm Lorie.
Right.
And so that's where the self-talk comes in, and saying, you kind of laugh at it now. And I think, you know, if people are that
where do they come up with this stuff?
In my scores, then I'm happy because they're following me. But it's the same. I mean, I've got my Toronto Maple Leafs sweatshirt on tonight, and, you know, Boston should be writing us thank you letters.
It's true.
You know, Adam McQuaid might not think that, but he, you know. So I went for a long time that it was, you know, I wasn't able to divide me from golf. But the more you talk to yourself in a positive way, keep your chin up. You're going to have good days on the golf course. You're going to have bad, but overall, as long as you're healthy and happy, what else matters?
Yeah.
And I think, like, I went back to the story I told you about winning my first tournament and Danny encouraging me to talk to Rosie and basically chase her around the green. I realized then that this was the only way that I was going to be able to do this. Like, there was no way I was going to be able to be, I can't even not smile.
Yeah.
The smile doesn't always tell the tale, but that's not, fortunately for me, that's how it comes out. And Anne Chouinard, who I also owe a lot of credit to in helping me get to where I am. She has seen the good, the bad, and the ugly of me. She wouldn't tell any stories at school, though, Janny. But she knows that, and she's seen it, and we've worked through it. But you really have to know that we are blessed to be playing this great game, because it does test every bit of you physically, mentally, and everything else. My dad always says, and Hunter Harrison, who was the former CEO of CN, he said, you want to learn about somebody? Take them to the golf course.
Yeah. You mentioned, and I did too, about having fun on the golf course, and it's a game, and it needs to be played. What do you say to people and the younger group that we have today, how important that is? I know you know how to do it,
right.
and you really do have to enjoy the game.
Well, you do, because it is there's a strategy behind golf. The designers of the golf course play with your mind to shape holes and make it feel like bunkers are closer than they are, and that are they in play, are they not in play, and you have to approach the game the way that those designers designed the golf course. They had fun shaping the holes and saying, we're going to get them. They think, this water's not reachable, but it really is. And you have to challenge yourself to be able to go out there and say, I'm going to hit every shot that, for what it's worth, to the best of my ability, and be accepting of the result, and move on, and not carry it with you everywhere you go to the next one. Because if you carry it on, and I tell you, I'm Lorie Kane, and I'm an overthinker on the golf course sometimes, and it can be the worst. Because if you, like John, this caddy I have now, so 2 tournaments, it's 54 holes, so whatever many rounds, I have not heard one negative thing come out of that man's mouth yet. Other than, God, it could have hit the tree and bounced into the fairway. I'm thinking, well, that was kind of negative but positive, because he said, it's bounced into the fairway. If we all approached it that way, then it would be easier. And fun, it is a game. And I think the more fun you have, it just kind of lets it, you gotta have fun.
Yeah.
And fun to some people is being really, like Annika, I don't know that Annika had fun. I'm sure she was having fun. She didn't look like she was having fun. Like, I played enough golf with her. She's very, very, very intense. Tiger is intense, but I think Tiger's having fun because he's playing with all of us. He hits a shot. Like last week when he shot 41, I was like, wow. But if you watched his round, I thought he was playing with us because he knew he was kind of out of it, but he was testing himself for what's coming up this week. And if we all had his money and skill level and yada yada, we would, have lots of fun. But we're not at his level, we're at our level, but we still should have fun. And for all of you young guys that are just getting into this game, the sky's the limit. You've got schools that want you to come down. You wouldn't believe how many people ask me, do you know any good young Canadians? We need some golfers. American colleges, good education, get to play golf. If you aspire to be the best that you can be, when you leave golf and you go to the workplace, what you've learned because of golf, you will carry with you for the rest of your life.
It's true. I don't have any more questions for you, but I'm wondering if there's anything that you can think of on, golf in general and just the stuff that you need to have or think about to become successful, and even if it's not to play on the LPGA Tour or the PGA Tour, but just to get to your next level, whatever that is.
Better than you are today?
Yeah.
Work harder. Don't be afraid to ask for help. We've got a lot of great instructors here on PEI. We have numerous numbers of wonderful golf courses that, so we don't lack anything in that manner. but at the end of the day, it requires effort. And if you put in, then you'll get back what you put in. And the game is, I mean, it's, like I said, it'll teach you more about yourself than you will ever learn anywhere else. So I'm sure with the PEI Golf Association is trying to make better players out of us all, and for us to enjoy the game and to get younger and more players into the game. I don't care if they're younger or older, we just need more golfers. But if I can address those young guys in the back and those who still aspire to be even better than you are right now, Tim, I know you work really hard at it. Just make practice efficient. I think that was one of the things that came out of what I quickly heard from your presentation. And know that practice is practice, but playing is playing. And when you are heading to the course tournament days, it's a warm-up, it's not a practice. And sometimes you need to just go out on the golf course and practice. And what I mean by that is go out and play one day and take the right side of the golf course out of play. You do not want to be on the right side of the golf course. You want to play on the left side of the golf course. The next day you want to play on the right side of the golf course. I'm going to hit all draws. I'm not going to hit any fades. And force yourself to go where you're uncomfortable. And because if you're uncomfortable in practice and you overcome that, then when you're faced with a shot, there isn't a shot that you haven't tried. My dad had me hit shots up against a tree stand on one leg. I know that my second shot as a professional golfer was left-handed. I play right-handed. But I had the ability to hit that shot because I practiced it. I know what I can do. And so that would be my advice is dream big and take no prisoners and shoot the wounded.
There you go. Well, Lorie, I want to thank you so much for coming out here tonight. I know it meant a lot to me, and I know that the folks here, it meant a lot to them as well to get the perspective of such an amazing champion of the LPGA Tour and from Prince Edward Island as well. And, if I can say one last thing, I'd encourage you to just see that win, because I know you can do it as well.
Well, I
Go get
appreciate
him.
that, and I will.
All right, thanks.